you're a strange animal I got to follow. Oh, I'm in the spiritus.
And yes, strange animals abound. Hey, everybody, welcome to Squash Talk. I'm Pat. How's everybody doing tonight? Thanks for being here. I appreciate each and every single one of you. Glad you're here. So, yeah. The Melba Ketchum thing. Melba Ketchum. Melba Ketchum. All right, let's talk about it. I've been wanting to get this off my chest for a while. I was actually asked to address it. I know I haven't been around for a while. Lots of things have happened in the Bigfoot world. Lots of things we're talking about. Some things have gone away quickly, as I knew they would. But this one, Melba is back with, I don't know, round 2, round 3 of the DNA study, right? So let's talk about that. Again, I have opinions. I'm kind of going to cut to the chase as much as I can here. I'm not gonna opine too long, stretch things out, and so we have our major players, and a new one. So compared to the the first Ketchum study, now all of a sudden we have a new player who is voice of trying to fund this. It's certainly the reason why it got funded so fast. At least their minimal goal, and they'll probably exceed that. And that's Isdal, How to Hunt dude. No doubt he has a big following. I think he's just under 300,000 subs, and his videos get a pretty good percentage views. Last one he put out, was at about 50,000 views. So he's getting good percentages off of his sub base, and his people are loyal, no doubt about it. So this time around, How to Hunt dude's involved, and that again, that's a big voice, one of the biggest. He's not the biggest voice in the Bigfoot world, but he's a big one. And to that, I have to give him credit because that's reality. Again, 300,000 subs. Not too shabby for a YouTube channel, especially one about Bigfoot and all the craziness that goes on there. So this time around, we got Isdal involved. But the other players they're still around and they're still a part of it. And so that's, Politis and Carpenter. As you see in the thumbnail, Those are the players that got involved. And so that means something, right? So recently, since the GoFundMe got created, and then Melba herself started doing a little PR, at least on some of the Bigfoot platforms. Um, you know, it's it's been talked about, and most extensively, I'll say, as far as like opposing, kind of circles I'm around, skeptical, opposing, would be Steve Cole's Squatch DTV, the Squatch detective himself. Cole's has done 2 shows now, and they're both excellent. And I'm not a geneticist. I'm not here to speak as a scientific professional because I am not one. I fully admit that, but that doesn't mean I can't opine about what's going on. And I'm not even going to go in a science direction. Kind of going to call this whole thing out for what it is, in my opinion. But you can find that there. If you go to Steve Cole's Squatch DTV YouTube, you can find all those things there, where the science is being hashed out with what I would say is appropriate people, the right discussion. So they aren't trolling, they aren't haters. They're hashing things out. Oh, like this last show this past Sunday. It was almost too scientific. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I don't mind a deep layer of science butter spread over anything in the Bigfoot world. Like, that's always welcome. But they were, the guest was really diving deep into the minutia. I couldn't understand everything he was saying. I was trying to absorb it, quickly. But again, not that that's a bad thing. I'm going in a different direction because to me, this is not about science at all, because of the players involved. And what I realized several years ago, and I've touched on this on my show and other shows, of what this is really all about. The whole Ketchum thing back then and now, again, because of the players involved, Carpenter, Politis, and now Isdal, and I'm not trying to say that all of that is like some kind of exact equivalency, but close enough. Close enough. And so that's what I want to talk about. Forget the science. So Ketchum thing, round 2 coming or round 3. Some people disagree. Like, we're not sure if it's round 2 or 3. Whichever one it is, whatever's coming with this new GoFundMe, so right off the bat, like, my initial reaction to everyone in the Bigfoot world, who might be watching a show like this, or Steve's, or Nikki's, or Jeff's, or anybody else, where, it's kind of being talked about, like, in a skeptical way. Hey, man, bust out the popcorn. It's going to fall flat on its ass like it did before. Period. Like, it's going nowhere. It's not going to go into the scientific world. It's not going to penetrate the science world to where, scientists are going to throw their hands up and think, oh my God, these things are real. There's something to them. You have to go check it out right now because Melba brought it to the table. That's not going to happen, because that's not what this is about. This is not about that. It's not about proving to the world or showing even the scientific world, oh my God, there's something here. You should check it out because I proved it scientifically. And you can't deny it. You can't deny much of it. there's at least a sliver there that's going to open your eyes to, holy shit, there's something to really check out here. That's not what this is about at all. This, in my opinion, is about something else entirely. And that is basically this cabal or Kabbalah has been and is currently trying to convert the Bigfoot world into the Nephilim world. So they're trying to convert Bigfooters into Nephilimers, right? That's what this has always been about. It's preaching, it's conversion. Now, Bigfoot is not a religion, and nor is it a cult. Just right off the bat, like the Bigfoot community isn't a religion, and nor is it a cult. It doesn't fit into either one of those things. Yeah, there's a belief aspect, so you touch on some of that with the belief. I believe in Bigfoot. Belief, believers. Yeah. Some overtones, some religious type things that require faith. But Bigfoot's not a religion at all, nor is it a cult. There are tiny cults in scattered throughout the Bigfoot world, but the entirety of the community is neither one of those things. So just to be clear, I'm not saying that it's that actually that primed for it. The thing with Bigfoot is just a lack of information. People want answers, and they're genuinely drawn to the mystery of Bigfoot because there is something there to the phenomena for sure. But that's its own subject. So I just wanted to clarify that Bigfoot's not a religion and it's not a cult, but the Nephilim crowd comes from a place of biblical text, biblical understanding, fundamentalist almost. But the problem with that is the whole word Nephilim and everything that means is literally lost in translation. That word originates from the Hebrew Bible, which is part of the Hebrew language. Nephilim, Liam. Look it up. Like that's where it comes from, and it's lost in translation. And most theologians agree on that. Even if they disagree, it's enough disagreement to prove that it's lost in translation just by their own disagreements. So it's not until the King James version that it's referred to as giants. And again, there's all kinds of disagreement prior to that. Was there ever any attention to imply giant? Again, look it up. I have. So the whole Nephilim thing kind of is more of a modern day, let's say, understanding of the text, and then you start applying it to Bigfoot, man. Then you're kind of going off the rails. You're looking for something that you want to be there, and that's what's going on here. Again, the people involved, the big players, and they except for Isdell, Carpenter and Politis, they were players in the original Ketchum study. They were PR people, especially Politis. He was the one that had to do the damage control on the whole angel DNA slip. That came from the I think it was the Igor guy or whatever. And he had to do damage control on that, and he's breathing very heavy in that interview to try and do damage control. But like that whole original study, if you will, I mean, the reason it fell flat on its face is because they were trying to wrap Bigfoot in a Nephilim narrative. Like, that was the goal, So it was never a serious inquiry into unlocking anything. It was just a way to serve a platter of Nephilim up to the Bigfoot world, but they didn't go far enough, and they didn't do it right. Whatever, man, they failed because the Bigfoot world actually rejected, But now, I mean, things have changed a lot. The Bigfoot world's gotten bigger. It's gotten much more gullible. And now they're sprinkling in. See how it's different now. Like this time, whoa, we also want to talk, man, dude, Dogman, maybe even Mothman, or Wendigo, or leprechauns, even mermen, chupacabra, what have you. They're sprinkling in all this extra stuff that it now exists in the Bigfoot sort of sphere, online sphere, with this extra stuff, especially Dogman, right? So Dogman's like the newest, biggest associated cryptid. And so, man, she's all about that. Let's unlock the genome of Dogman. So that's what's going on. That's what this is all about. It's an attempt to convert the hardcore Bigfoot believers that want answers. It's an attempt to convert them into Nephilimers that have all the answers. And I'll touch on that in a minute. But first, I just wanted to play you because it took me way too long to dig this up, because I had to be honest with myself. I said, man, I've never actually heard Ketchum say anything about Nephilim. I know the other players, Carpenter, Politis, Isdell, like they have to varying degrees. Obviously Carpenter is like, he wrote a whole book about it, but Isdell promoted that book and loved that book. Like, so, like, I know those players. I'm like, you know what? To be fair, I've never heard Ketchum talk about Nephilim ever. So I had to dig it up, and here it is.
Have, space people making them. Other theories that a lot of people subscribe to are that they are actually biblical creatures, because in Genesis chapter 6, it talks about, that the watcher angels came down and they chose women as their cohorts and wives, and they had children with them, which were the Nephilim, the men of old, the men of renown. They were giants. And this goes all the way through. And then, right after the flood, you got, all of these tales. And it says that they were before then, and they are even today, which, like the Kandahar giant, obviously, still giants around. There's a lot of military men that have come out and talked about that. And, the same with the Bigfoot. I mean, we actually put some pictures that came,
So there it is. There she is talking about it. I would say, she's done 2 recent interviews, one on World Bigfoot Radio and the other one on Spaced Out Radio, which is what I just clipped from. And it's just all kooky shit, man. It just, it gets even kookier, dude. Like you may have caught at the very beginning of the clip I just played. Pete, it's not your turn. It's not your turn to talk. Pete, it's not your turn to talk. Yeah. He's calling bullshit. She says something about spacemen, So to be fair, in context of that clip, it does continue on where she talks about it. Basically, she already comes to the conclusion, well, it's either spacemen or it's biblical. Pete, come on, bud. Come here. Sorry. PD interruptions are always fun until they're not. So she, feel free to watch that entire show. Like I'm not purposely taking anything out of context. I wanted to address the specific Nephilim thing. And so I have with her talking about it. But again, World Bigfoot Radio and Spaced Out Radio. The World Bigfoot Radio one, boy, that one gets crazy. But dude, everything lately in the Bigfoot world has been just batshit crazy. There's been too much of it. It's getting out of control. That's a different show. So yes, it is my opinion, as Petey barks over me. Petey, if you want to talk, come here. Good boy. Come. It's my opinion that, again, bust out the popcorn, just sit back and watch it, watch these people donate their money to something that's going to fall completely flat, to anything like trying to pierce into the scientific world, much like it did. No, it's not your turn to talk, Pete. Much like it did before, because that's what's going to happen. But that's not the intent. It's my prediction, in my opinion, that this is an attempt to convert Bigfooters into Nephilimers, because it answers all the questions, kind of like in a way that religion does. And again, this is all religious overtones. There's dogma, there's religious texts involved. And I'll link to some of that. Believe it or not, I'm going to say this right now. Like some of that rhetoric, these people are, some of them are really good at articulating it. Now, I'm not saying that they're persuasive, at least not to me, and probably not to most of you watching right now. But to the rest of the Bigfoot world, I think they could be persuasive. It's just they don't have a big enough voice. And again, this is about a bigger voice. Isdal, he's a big voice. And I'm not sure he totally buys into the Nephilim thing. We'll see. Like, it's in his best interest to keep the question marks going, not answers. For as much as he talks about answers, it's only in his financial interest to keep the question marks going. Because once there's answers, his channel's dead. And a lot of other people's channels, So I don't know. They like, hey Pete, now you're trying to get down. Come here. So he may, he may waver at some point, but he is definitely responsible for the current funding. And I don't think that's going to stop. I don't think he's just going to bow out. But again, at the end of the day, this, in my opinion, this is an attempt to convert Bigfooters who are gullible, that want answers, because the answers will all be there. They'll all be there. Well, it makes perfect sense. They're not like they're, we have domain of the world, but they don't. They don't. Therefore, that's why they're so elusive. And then the whole narrative of, if you want to say, well, you should respect their, you have domain there, but you should respect their personal space, let's say. And the woo factor, all the crazy shit they do. Well, because they're, angels. They're like half angel, half human. So it's magical. It fits the woo narrative in a way that people can like understand and wrap their head around in a religious text, because dude, Christianity's been around for a long time. Say what you will, I'm not trying to get into what religion's full of shit or not, or atheism or anything like that. It doesn't matter. It's powerful stuff. It's powerful stuff. And so when you introduce this new superpower of religion in a big way, wrapped in science, though, but we scientifically did it, then yeah, you could maybe. I think they'll fail, but I understand what the attempt is. I understand the attempt. And, hey, look, Melba, I keep saying Melba, like I'm mixing it up with like Meldrum. Apologize for that. Melba has a lot of hardcore followers. Some you might be surprised by. Some people you might see in this chat every now and then. And I'm like, what? Really? Dude? What are you doing here if you're buying into her crap? But whatever. Everybody's welcome here. Yeah. I mean, she already has. I mean, I'm seeing it right now. Like, the views that are on these two shows, they're not spectacular. It's like a couple of thousand views. And these are channels that have like 20, 30,000 subs. So there's something there. There's a hardcore following that's always been there. I remember it from sort of the off time after the fact of the original Ketchum study. I remember seeing people really supporting it. Every single one of those people supporting Melba, every single one of them, man, were fundamentalist Christians. Not that there's anything wrong with that in particular. It depends. But nothing wrong with being a Christian. Nothing wrong with being a Muslim. Nothing wrong with being any of those things. I'm just saying, when you go the fundamentalist route, I mean, then you're talking about the earth is 10,000 years old or whatever, right? I mean, you could go into a lot of different weird directions with the fundamentalist thing. But you introduce that into the Bigfoot world, you give people the answers they want. It explains the woo-ness in a physical way that they can relate to, in a, at least a philosophical way they can relate to, or a religious way that they can relate to. Like, oh, it makes perfect sense. It really does. Like, it's kind of the best way, I'll admit. It's the best way to cover all the bases between physical and woo. The best way is to go the religious, biblical narrative. It's not true. None of it's true. Again, Nephilim lost in translation. But it can be made into a compelling argument for I think a chunk of people. So we'll see. So scientifically it's going to fall flat on its ass, just like it should. Like we all know that. Certain people understand that more than others, I guess, but scientifically it'll fall flat on its ass. I say to that, like, they're not trying to prove shit to science. They're trying to convert the Bigfoot world into Nephilimers. And of course, that's not going to happen. I say that's not going to happen. That could happen. What's not going to happen is the piercing into the scientific world where, and we'll see if she self-publishes again. Hopefully she learned her lesson, but who's going to publish this work? I don't know. Like, that's all. Again, that's why I say bust out the popcorn. Because all that's going to be a shit show. I think they're more focused on the Bigfoot world than they are the scientific world. And I think that's the way it was before. Mistakes were made, and they didn't have the voices they had now. They don't have the influence. And again, a lot of things have changed, man, in 10 years, right? A lot of things have changed. If Bigfoot was 100 tribes, if not Bigfoot, if the Bigfoot world was 100 tribes 10 years ago, I'd say it's 1,000 tribes now, loosely affiliated. So I think I said everything I wanted to say there. I don't think I missed anything. This is what's going on, in my opinion. This is the road it's going. This is a prediction for me. And hopefully that will become obvious at some point. But as far as like, it is great of a job as Calls did on the past 2 shows, and I get that. Again, nothing wrong with smothering science over the top of anything Bigfoot related. I love it. And both those shows are great and worth watching. If you haven't seen them, go check them out. But as far as like at this point forward, trying to go after Melba, scientifically, it doesn't matter. That's not their goal. I don't think their goal is to give 2 shits or a fuck about what the science world has to say about these findings. It's all about their own narrative and where they want that to point to the Bigfoot world. And I'm convinced 100% that the goal there is Nephilim. I have been, and I will continue to be until something comes my way to change my mind or make me think differently. And that's fine. I can have that discussion too with anybody that wants to have it. Not stupid to think any of these people would come on my show. They're welcome to, but not going to happen, I'm sure. I'm not afraid of them, and nor am I a troll. I'm just being honest. This is my opinion. And with that, I will turn this over to Petey. I think he has a few words to say about the whole sort of DNA subject altogether. Yes, I do. Very much. Thank you, Pat. So, hello, Squatch Talk World. I'm so happy to be back with you. I love doing podcasts. I might start my own podcast. We'll see. We'll see how things go with the ratings, that I get when I make my appearance. But I just wanted to say that, the whole DNA thing, like, if we're going to do it, let's do it right. There's people in this world that are trying to do it right. They're not wanting to, make any pre-conclusions about, what they'll find. They just legitimately want to get to the sequencing of actual potential Sasquatch DNA. And, there's people like Doug Hijack and Dari Okai and many, many others that they don't wrap it in some narrative of what they want it to be. They just want to get to the truth. And so it's my job, I feel like, as what I would do is just bite a Sasquatch. And yeah, I could provide DNA samples. I could bite them and they'll run away for sure because I'm a dog. I've got a muzzle, these very powerful jaws. And so I see Sasquatch, I will bite him, and Pat can collect the DNA from my mouth. I'd be more than happy to turn that over to the appropriate people, but not this Melba person. It's just, I don't. She'll say it's dog. I'm dog man. She'll throw me under the bus. It's freaking dog man. So yeah, man. Forget all that. Yeah, I think we're out. Thanks for watching, everybody. It's great to have you here again. Pat hasn't done many shows, and now he's trying to find some that he can't find. Pat, sorry, Pat. And so we'll see you next time. And yeah, peace out, man. Love you guys. You come pet me anytime you want, man. I'll be available at Bigfoot conferences very soon for petting because Pat said I'm getting very famous in the Bigfoot world. See ya. Peace.
Let's assume that you've got to this point in the video and you don't agree with me at all. Fine, but I guarantee that this video has been beneficial to you. It will, at the very least, have allowed you to compare your own argument to mine, thus giving you an understanding of the opposite view of the argument. And, assuming you're being honest with yourself and actually paid attention, it will have strengthened your own line of reasoning in preparation for an intellectually honest counter-argument. Therefore, even if you don't agree with me at all, this video will still have been useful to you, even if it only confirmed what you previously knew. If I get defeated here, if someone comes along with a very good counter-argument that defeats mine properly, then great, we've all learned. And if I'm right, great, we've all learned again. But if we don't have the debate because it's artificially shut down, or people complain so much that it persuades people not to take me seriously, we can't learn. We can't find the truth. So we will live in ignorance of the truth. It is therefore in all our best interests to have a debate about this subject. But if the academics or corporations like YouTube or the Central State are not allowing the debate, or somehow find a way to call this offensive and take it down, then we